This is Curtis coming at you from Ace per Ed Studios. Once again, week 3 of the NFL 2021 season has come and just about all gone. Our Dolphins now are 1-2, so I want to do some coverage of that game. I want to start off by saying the Phins players fought hard. I had a lot of respect for these players on both sides. And it was one amazing ride. But it just felt the Dolphins were constantly on the edge. And they managed to keep pushing forward. Now I want to dig into this game a little bit, but to say that the players really showed heart and gave everything they had. And how much respect do you have for Brissett? I said that with him in charge, you would see this offense do a little bit better. Because it's not a knock against Tua. Just veterans have the ability to take a bad situation and not make it so bad because they've been there so many times before. And Brissett really came through so many times, just over and over and over again. It's a shame he couldn't get the win. And it was there. It was there for the taking. But that's a story for later on in the podcast. So I have a podcast coming out. I taped it last week. I wasn't sure if I was going to put it out or not, or when I was going to put it out. Well, for two reasons. One, it's long. It's like 48 minutes. And the reason I'm putting it out, and I think it's a good podcast, despite how long it is because I really try to detail the start of Ross's tenure all the way up to a critical and pivotal moment last year. And how everything seems to have come together and why certain things are the way they are. Last week I did a bunch of videos, had a lot of comments like, how did we get here? What's going on? Is he in charge? Is he responsible? Is he in charge? Is he responsible? Who, what? And really, a lot of these questions made me think. So I started doing the research. So I'm going to put hyperlinks in this podcast for some people who really kind of know it. But I really wanted to leave every single breadcrumb for those to track who maybe didn't or want a refresher. And it really comes to, when I had done the podcast, a very clear result and specific person to hold blame over. Then I should have put it out. Then new news came out yesterday. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to spoil the whole deal. But essentially, it clarified and confirmed this other podcast. So I'm going to put this other podcast out either tonight or tomorrow. And then I'm going to do an epilogue of this podcast. We'll be far more concise with this new news. And for me, this new news means fireworks are coming. And I think it could be good in the long run after some bumps. But I'll get into that later. I want to focus on the game here now. Thank you for your patience. So you could feel, as these games have gone on, the loss of Raekwon Davis definitely was felt in this game. Barber really was a critical piece, pulling the entire Raiders offense together, bringing the consistency and really hurting the Dolphins. And Davis missing is a big piece missing. Part of that is because we have smallish linebackers that need to be covered. But also in this game too, 2 linebacker coaches had COVID, so Flores had to kind of do double duties. So maybe that played a smaller part. But Peyton Barber, the running game, that, bygone way of doing business, what it appears like, paid off big. Peyton Barber had 23 carries for 111 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, a touchdown, and 3 receptions for 31 yards. He was the glue for this offense. And that's what the running game does. You know, yes, the modern game is about passing and chunk yards and all this other stuff, but running game is like glue of consistency. Okay, so you can't really take total blame away from the defense. You have to put some blame on it. They had 10 20-plus yard plays, which tied a record in a single game for the last 5 years. Now, there were some man breakdowns. Renfro, when he beat Howard, spun him around and got that touchdown. Very critical play. Was a man breakdown. But when you go back, I'm not fully going to confirm on this, but when you go back, there was a lot of issues of a team that's learning zone, because zone is very difficult. They were stacking. Sometimes, I do this all the time, they were stacking. Sometimes it's good to stack, like one on top of another, and other times it's to spread out and to create a net. And I felt like in some of these instances, the net approach of the zone was better than the stacking. And so I think I saw that. I want to dig into that a little bit later on this week, possibly. But as much as you want to like say, you know what, the defense gave up a lot of run yards, they gave up some big plays in the air, I want to dial it in a little bit. Time of possession again was 31-13 to 38-47. And at one point, the Dolphins had the lead by 14 points. This is a fundamental breakdown in concept, application, stemming from the coaching. I want to like dig into that further. But good news, there is good news. You see, to me, this game, there was a lot of good news. And a lot of that, again, this news, some of you might have heard, kind of a little under the radar maybe in some ways, is giving me that darkness before the dawn feel. And so I want to touch on some of the good stuff. Zach Sealer had a fantastic game. What a great pickup. Wilkins, who, this is a big year for him, really showed up big several times. He had his sacks and tackles for losses, many tackles. Agba really showing that he's something. I mean, this guy was bringing pressure, big time pressure. Van Ginkel, his stats didn't show, but he was popping up when you watch the tape. Roberts, how can you not respect this guy? I wanted to do a film last week of his play against the Bills and how much I respect Roberts. I mean, it gives me that old-time feel with this guy. Then there's Phillips, our young rookie, he showed up several times, and I think he's starting to gain a little traction. There's some plays where he was beaten or whatever, but there's a little juice from him, I felt, like a little bit, And for being this, like, early into his career, I think it's a good sign. So those were, really some of the good stuff that I saw on defense as far as plays. There were others. Nick Needham really showing up. He had one big broken coverage. Again, it was Renfro, I believe. But overall, man, this guy's really shining. But we had a 14-0 lead. And even had a 4th-and-1 stop. 4th-and-1 stop. 14-0 lead. They kick it off. They punt it. It gets downed on the 1. This is where I want to dial my focus in. This is where I dialed my focus in last week. This is where I'm going to dial my focus in this week. And again, with this podcast I'm going to put out later, it's going to really highlight what's going on. All right, so screen in the end zone on 1st down on the half-yard line. I don't need to say anymore. Okay, so we punt. The D stops the Raiders again. Well, limits them to a field goal. So you got 14-5 lead. 14-5 lead. Okay, the defense, this part, we're like, somewhere like in the second quarter. 14-5 lead. Okay? So we open up with the run game. Good in concept. But in application, we had already made the Raiders believe in our run and respect it. And if you go back and you watch the tape, that opening drive after the field goal, the first two plays we ran the football. But both those times, the Raiders were playing a run and came up hard. It was the perfect time for play action. And that's my feeling is these OCs, I mean, look, these guys know more about football than any of us. This is a very difficult job. It's not easy. Only a few people can be good at it. This is not a knock on them per se as football guys, but when you're comparing them to the cream of the crop, they don't really have a feel. Screen in the end zone, come back, you've run the ball successfully finally, and you get, okay, first down you want to run the football, okay? But you have to see that they biting hard on the run. That second down is where you want the play action. And again, they play action on the opening play of a game when they never really ran the football in the game before, but then when the defense bites or the defense is respecting your run game, and then you run it and then they bite hard, and then on the second down you run it again, it's just no feel. And I felt like that was through the whole game. No real feel. There's a reason why the Miami offense is 30th in points and 31st in yards. You could say the offensive line. Well, the offensive line played pretty good this game, and they played pretty good the first game. So you have two games where the offensive line played good enough to win. For the most part, we'll dial into that in a second. So really, the consistent theme is not the quarterbacks, it's not the line, it's not the receivers, it's the coaches. Our O-line, I'm going to dial into that now. Sadly enough, Jermaine Umanor, who was on our team, we cut, is a starter now for the Raiders as a left guard, and he's doing pretty good. So I thought that was pretty ironic. But you could see now Davis got heat. And I did a video saying, dude, this guy was ambushed not only by the opposing team on that 4th and 2 where Tua got knocked out, but by his own coaches. So you move him into guard, where he should have been years ago, and he played well. In fact, he played pretty good enough to kind of stabilize Jackson, Ted. They did a lot to cover him up with play calls and stuff. I could get into that for now. But I'm not going to do any heavy work on Jackson. It's kind of like pretty obvious now. Not going there anymore. I'm going to look at the rest of the linemen this week and stuff like that. I'm going to talk about him, but I'm not going to go too crazy. I'll get to him in a second. Hunt, still struggling with his awareness. He misses switches. Sometimes he gets locked on a guy early. This is a problem that it's his main problem, in my opinion, without really totally studying him hard. But this is something at least that he can develop. This is something that can grow to experience and reps. So I got to check on that, but he had some issues there, but not terrible. And Eichenberg, he had like 1 or 2 plays where he got beat. But for the most part, he played really well. This is his second full game, and if he played last game a little bit, this guy is playing well. Now, he's good enough to, I'll get to Jackson. Dieter, again, he plays well in the pass game, still struggles hard in the run game. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, about how our coaches really don't understand their players. The dummy over here does, but these guys who get paid to do it 24/7 don't seem to do it. And now Jackson, I did a video last week on him, his hits and all this stuff. He held all game. I said in my video, they're going to save up those holds for critical moments, and they had 2 of them. But he was holding all game, struggled for the most part. They protected him with like draws and plays to kind of like use the aggression of the Raiders against them. And that kind of like helped them out, but they had to like constantly protect them. But I said in my video, I said, if they start him and he looks like he did, I've lost all confidence. I've lost all confidence. Now, maybe you're desperate. You don't know who else you could put in there. That's a discussion. But he cost us this game. And again, it's very clear to anybody who looks, but he's still in there. So the run game, what we don't really like want to use, and some fans who, I can kind of understand why they say, oh, run game sucks. Gaskin, another 5-yard per carry day. It's his third in a row. Third game in a row with 5 yards per carry. Now, this game plan was far better than anything I had seen except for the first drive in New England. And I think that should be the template. For me personally, that first drive should be the template and the framework with which they build their game plans and they scheme up and they play call. But for some reason, they don't seem to. But this game had shades of it. It really did. It had some shades of it, minus the RPO, really. Which I still think Tua can bring something to that, But Gaskin had 5 yards per carry, 13 for 65. Brown, 7 for 31, 4.4 yards per carry. And it was a tight game. It was a tight game. And we threw 49 times and had 20 runs from the quarterback, from the running back, 7 more from the quarterback. But what was the difference between the Bills? Not totally, but what was the difference between the Patriots, Bills, and Raiders? They ran the ball consistently. We beat the Patriots because they got the fumble, but we should have lost. The Bills just beat us up on the ground, and we didn't run the football. And now this game, the Raiders ran the football from beginning, middle, to end. And they're going to go over some drives. But for us, we're pass happy. Even though we're seeing success. Gaskin and Brown look like they can produce. And this offensive line responds when they're able to run block. When this defense's arm pinning ears back, it doesn't look too bad. Again, this goes to coaches either magnify the talents of the players or they reduce the talents of the players. Simple things like we like to run rollout play actions at the beginning of the game with Shaheen blocking on a first down, and then it goes nowhere because of this, and then we're in a hole and we get forced to pass. The screen in the end zone. Certain calls on 4th down. The 4th and 1 to do a quarterback sneak with Dieter as your center ain't working. Or the 3rd and 1 where you run behind Jackson and Shaheen and you miss it by a couple of inches. Again, it's like this is the right thing to do because we think it this way, but they're not taking into account any variables such as my players versus the opponent's situation, whatever. It's just like they're following paint by numbers. You have excuses. It was 14-12. We missed a field goal. You have Fuller, the no call. Should have been a penalty. But again, Jackson was holding all day and only got 2. He should have got about 7. Brown on the opening 3rd quarter, he cut one of the defenders, and that was a nice play, really for us a chance to get a roll going over here. But we were ahead 14-0. We were ahead 14-5, and we let it slip away. So we're down 5. Here to go over this. Down 5. What do we open with? Bomb, screen, pass that gets a lucky penalty for roughing the receiver. Pass, run, pass, holding. Rest of the game, Brissett draws or Brissett running, wildcat. And again, maybe a quarterback sneak. And then in overtime, Raiders score 3 points and they have 3 runs. 3 runs, I think 4 or 5 passes. We get the ball back. We're down 3. If we score, we win. If we field goal, we tie. And what do we open up? Pass deep, pass holding by Jackson. Why aren't we running? We were in the lead, even at 14-5. It's because the offensive coordinators are skittish, pass happy, or just not really aware of the situation. But like I said, there are some good signs. We should win this week. We'll be 2-2. I'm going to go over this news. But I think we're in for a rocky road, but I do think there is some good stuff. And I like Flores. I still like him. And after I'm doing this study for that PC and the new news that just came out, I like him even more. But I'm going to get into that. Next time. So check out this next podcast. It is long, but I think it's valuable. Hold your head up. There were some good things in this game. I think some of the problems are pretty much exposing themselves clearly. And as an opportunity to cut out this last bit of gangrenous rot, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, Fin fans, hold your head up. There's still time to turn this around. There's still an opportunity. So this is Curtis saying thank you for staying to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comments mean the most. I really appreciate the comments. Get to all of them. Kind of sort of caught up. So I want to hear your comments on this. Subscribes and likes. My new tag helps us with our Google overlords and our analytics. That keeps us in business, keeps me talking football, so I appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to Ace Per Head, our sponsor. They want to let you know with the world-class software, you can get on the action with your friends, family, co-workers, anybody you know as a local bookie. So much action going on. Great, great sponsors. This wouldn't happen without them. And, you know, I keep saying it now. This is like my new tagline, is it wouldn't happen with you. The comments are great. I really appreciate them on every level. I think it's just a great community that's coming in. Not just from the Fin fans. Of course, they're the best. Don't tell anybody, though. But I'm just kidding. From all of them. You know, just a really good collection of people with the comments. So I'm very grateful. So this is Curtis saying thank you for staying to the end. Catch you next time. Be well. And Fin fans, hold your heads up.